It's the Extremist movie debate. And tonight we're talking 2018's Black Panther.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Aaron.
One of us is going to love it, one of us is going to hate it.
Let the coin decide their fate.
I hate it. That's cool.
Awesome.
Aaron loves it. What should we do for a spoiler? Hey guys, don't hide out on a secret place that's much more advanced than Earth and create peace because you're mad or better than us. I don't know, man.
That's the worst spoiler.
Terrible.
I don't know how to do a spoiler for this
Don't
one.
colonize us. There are spoilers ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
two people on this show are definitely gonna colonize us. So let's jump right in, shall we?
That's racist.
Thank you. You can't be racist towards white people. Ethan, since you hate this movie, I'm so sorry. Don't worry, I did use racial questions.
Goody.
This first question comes to you. This is not a racial question. There's two quotes I want to use here. First is from Anthony Lane of The New Yorker. Anthony says, Michael B. Jordan has swagger to spare with those rolling shoulders, but there's a breath of charm, too, all the more seductive in the overblown atmosphere of Marvel. And the second comes from Molly Lake of Missoula Independent. Molly says, it's Michael B. Jordan as Eric Killmonger who elevates this picture to something really special. So often, villains in these stories are motivated by power or of a flimsy nothing, but not here. Orphaned from his Wakandan father and left to fend for himself in America, Killmonger's thirst for revenge makes so much more sense by the end of the picture. I scarcely knew where to place my loyalties. So yeah, in these movies, like Thanos just wants to destroy Earth, or Hela wants to destroy Asgard for no fucking reason. So how do you think it's effective to have a relatable quote unquote villain that you can actually kind of sympathize with, or do you think it kind of takes away from the lore of superhero films? You have 45 seconds.
I think it's probably a good move to have a good villain in this movie. However, the problem is he's too good of a villain, and the movie should have been about him and not about Wakanda. I think that he was definitely one of the more interesting characters in this movie instead of, how do I become a good king? This is this guy who spends his entire life trying to attain this role so that he can help everybody else in the world who looks like him that he feels is being oppressed. That is the interesting story, not so much what is this new guy going to do as king to make Daniel Kaluuya happy. And that becomes one of the bigger issues in this movie, is that most of it is actually just about how do we make Daniel Kaluuya happy or the other tribes happy, and it just fosters this idea of, I don't like what the leader's doing, so I'm either going to kill him or I'm going to start a revolution against him. And everybody is super on board with this for the entire movie until the end,
Ethan.
when they do that.
Aaron.
Yeah,
You have 30 seconds to respond.
I completely disagree. I mean, he's definitely a well-rounded villain, but the war and the chaos in the world is the tension that they're fighting against, and it's why they originally chose isolation, because they were afraid that going out with the rest of the world would ultimately lead to them having to conquer the rest of the world, which is why they hide. And so it's that tension that is the story, and so I disagree with your assessment, sir.
All right. Well, Aaron, this next question comes to you. And sound the alarms. This is from Armand White of the National Review.
This is a racial question, isn't it?
What?
I said, this is a racial question, isn't it?
His whole review was just about racial issues. Armand, oh my God, says Black Panther turns racial politics into what Malcolm X called politics. The media's enthusiasm for this bland action flick is maddening. The problem isn't one particular movie, but the celebration of the illusion of progress. We haven't had a ton of, people of color as the leads, and the majority of the cast in a superhero movie or, mainstream movies anyway. And it brings up, a lot of different social issues that are affecting America today. What do you think is the risk of actually bringing in social issues into a comic book movie that people potentially go to just to kind of, turn off their brain and have a fun popcorn flick? You have 45 seconds.
Yeah, I actually don't think there is a risk in doing that. Honestly, I think that's a great idea, especially if you can do it in a way that's not too over the top, or in a way that is so over the top that it kind of subverts even being over the top, which is what this movie does. Even in the whole idea of the white CIA agent, who a lot of people are angry about being a white savior, when in fact he's really not. He doesn't say anything. Wakanda's just fine without him. All he does is help stop the spread of the weapons that would screw over the entire rest of the world. So there's a lot of subversion of typical racial tropes, and I think it works really well.
All right, thank you. Ethan, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I think that that's a nice, noble idea to have that in the movie. Unfortunately, you have this place that is unaffected by colonization, unaffected by, the white influence on the rest of the world, and they've thrived just to have them, again, go into this horrible civil war and kill all of each other. And so they're just brutally murdering each other in the end, and then by the end of that, they're just all super cool with it. So it's really just a shitload of really bad lessons learned at the end of this movie as far as what to take away from the theater.
All right, thank you. You guys have 2 minutes to discuss and go.
I don't think it's really, this movie that is seen by tons and tons of kids to be like, you know what, if you disagree with somebody, it's okay to murder them in a pool. If you disagree with somebody, it's okay to start a revolution against them and murder everybody that stands behind them.
It's not about murdering them in the pool. That's
what we see.
No, we don't. That's why the very beginning, it's to submission, and he actually talks the dude.
Yeah, that's him saving the cat from the tree. I get it, cool. But except that we continue to have people getting murdered in a pool later.
We have one person,
and we understand that this tradition exists because other people have been murdered in this pool.
And actually, the person who gets murdered in the pool turns out to not actually be dead. So we literally see no one murdered in the pool.
Can't commit.
So this whole offended idea you have of people being murdered in a pool never actually happens.
I'm offended at the tradition, not necessarily what happens on screen. We have 5-minute fight scenes that lead to what we assume is murder in a pool, and just because they happen to survive by either ice or submitting.
I've literally never watched a superhero movie where I thought, oh, there's the hero dead 2/3 of the way in. Like that's
you didn't this time either.
Yeah, that's correct.
No,
which is why we aren't meant to believe murder in a pool.
If you want to subvert the tropes of these crappy movies, maybe kill him off 2/3 through. That'd be cool. Have everybody else that's already a better character, Michael B. Jordan, learn his error of his ways. Suri come out and kick some ass.
How's he going to learn?
You can still have all that stuff.
If you actually make him dead, how in the world does that make him learn his lesson?
Character.
Like he didn't murder
all these people his entire life to get to this end game,
and then he will have learned his lesson.
And then all of a sudden realize, because that's what everybody's criticism of him is. It's like, oh, he's really like the protagonist of this movie, except that he's just, he's doing terrible things and murdering people, but we get why he's doing it.
That's what pushed him over the top, right? So have him continue
why he's doing it, except have him learn oh wait, this may be the wrong way to do it. He
literally scars his entire body because he's murdered all of these people.
This is the wrong way to do it.
But the fact that he hasn't murdered
dies, and T'Challa's like, I'm going to start a resource center in the hood. Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so if Michael B. Jordan had murdered Black Panther, that's the one that would have pushed him over. He's killed all these other people, but if he'd killed Black Panther, who'd have gone, oh, I see the error of my ways.
It's a lot more powerful.
That's time.
I don't even want to say it. No.
No, go ahead and say it.
It's probably more powerful to have the guy that lives his entire life through violence learn that peace is the better option instead of fucking kill him and the guy that was peaceful his entire life learn, oh, I'm going to keep doing peace.
Okay. Before we talk about how we actually feel, I challenge all the viewers to the Extremist movie debate drinking game. Take a shot every time in that first minute the phrase murdered in a pool was said.
I want it trending.
Yeah.
Hashtag murder in a pool.
Hashtag murder in a pool.
Let's get it going, guys.
Pool murder.
All right.
How do you guys really feel?
I love this movie. It's wonderful. I'm very happy that it exists.
It's great.
Super happy that it's making dumb Star Wars money.
Yeah, I saw it twice in the first 4 days it was open.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
It's... I don't know.
Plus,
it's all been said before.
Shout out to Wallace.
But it's needed right now. Just this movie of people that aren't having a movie of people of color that doesn't exist in the narrative of America, of people getting oppressed or enslaved in any way. Great. It's so nice to just see people of color thriving on their fucking own and doing really well and having that as the narrative. And women, yes, absolutely.
And even the stacked narrative on that, which is again where I said it's so almost over the top, but at the same time subverts all of that, because it basically there's a subtle shot at the white European tradition is the patriarchy. It's like, oh look, if you have this isolated country that doesn't have that influence, you have these strong female characters that thrive, and so it's like it's just brilliant. The layers of it's fantastic.
I think for me the most powerful thing was the juxtaposition between Killmonger and Black Panther of one is like, no, we need to keep, maintaining peace, so that way, things are smooth. It's like, and then the other group saying, well, there's only going to be change through violence because that's like a very real thing going on for people of color. Of like, no, you remember like back in like the civil rights, they were just marching, like, and then other people are like, no, we need to fucking bring attention. We need to be loud. We need to be hostile. We need to be violent. We need to, be in the streets screaming. And it's like, you don't really. You can understand both sides, but you don't really know who's right or wrong. Maybe they're both right.
It's
like,
very
X
much.
versus
I was just going to say. That's what I was just going to say. It's definitely. It's very much MLK and X. It is two people working for the same thing, but one born in and continuing a path of peace, and one born in and continuing violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that was like the biggest like thing for me. That I was like, wow. Like I'm glad to see this represented by like the people who it affects. Like. In this giant blockbuster movie that's making a ton of money, and maybe non-people of color will see that and start to kind of understand why these actions are being taken by certain groups, and kind of maybe empathize a little bit more instead of just shunning them for reacting the way they are naturally reacting, because there are two trains of thought. Anywho, what would you guys rate the movie?
8 out of 10. A Whole Lot of Thunder. I don't give it higher just because it's still just a fucking comic book movie.
I'd go 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 with A Lot of Thunder.
I'm going 9 out of 10. Lots of thunder.
Right,
Especially because the villain's so good. But, I mean, even better than Michael Keaton in Spider-Man, and that's high praise.
Well, I don't care for any libertarian in a comic book movie. Anyway, where can we find us?
Or here on YouTube, like and subscribe, tell your friends, hooray, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that crap.
emd.pantspending.com.
Artificialwood.pantspending.com.
Patreon, probably not going to happen. Thank you and good night.
Thanks.